Hello everyone, Shadow here again. Today we're going to do a tutorial that kills two birds with one stone. We've recently seen a bunch of registrations and spamming on our InfoSec board. Secondly, we're going to use a bit of MySQL command line here to grab some information from the database, namely IP addresses and offending IP addresses that are registering on our forum. Finally, we're going to post those IP addresses so everybody can have some fun with them, because spammers are pretty much the worst pathetic pieces of garbage on the internet. So, what we're going to look at today is our inactive users. When people register on our forum, the administration must approve those users, and as you can see here, we see just a bunch of random usernames registering in the same minute, same date, and same time, and that's pretty much a guarantee that this is a spammer. They're pretty much worthless. As you can see, we have about 8 pages of fake usernames registered on our board. It gets quite annoying after now, but sooner or later we'll be able to combat that. So, 3 things we're going to do today. So, we're going to take a look at phpMyAdmin. This is a simple database administration tool that's run by PHP, and we can see all the fields within the database here, and as we scroll over, we see one of the things that we're going to determine. We can find a user inactive reason field, okay, and when this is set to 1, that means that the user is inactive. That means that or the administration hasn't approved that username to be using the board yet. So once we do a query on the database, we can list all of those records, and what we're going to do here in a second is grab all those IP addresses. The first thing that we see here is we're logged into our SQL server here, and we're going to, first and foremost, we want to change over our databases to use our forum database, and we do that simply by typing use and then our database name, which in this case is infosec-forum. So now you can see that our database has changed. So now we have access to all those tables, and we're going to kind of show the tables within that database. And as we look, these are all the standard tables that are in the phpBB system. We have 63 tables. What we're going to be working with today is the phpBB users table. This is where it contains the user information for the board with all these, and we're going to look at the user inactive reason. So we're going to run a query on this database here. I've already typed up the query, and if you look at it, we have select user IP from phpBB users where user equals inactive, and we're going to explain this as we go. We'll paste this in here. So we're selecting the user IP from that table, the phpBB users table, where the user inactive reason equals 1, and then we're simply outputting that to an IPs file. Okay, so this will give us a list of those offending IP addresses whom have registered for the forum but not yet have been activated. It can get a bit cumbersome when you look at these, and as we run this query, we see we've got 181 rows, so we have 181 spam accounts being registered for our system. Now, I've output that already, so we're logged into our server now through FTP. We got our IPs file, and we're going to copy that over to our local workstation here, so now that we have that. The next thing we're going to do is go to our IPs text file that we just downloaded. We're going to open that and take a look at that. So these are all the offending IP addresses, but as you notice, we have some repeating IP addresses in there, and we don't necessarily want to get repeating IP addresses because we can't necessarily ban the same IP address at the same time. It would be a violation of primary key database. So we want to have all unique records. So we want to pull out all these unique IP addresses. And this is very, very simple to do. It's a really, really nice, bash command, and 3 or 4 20 characters to get this thing out of here. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to use this file. It's called sort file name, and then pipe it up to unique. But we're going to expand that a little bit to output that to a file too. So we're going to cd, and we have our IPs there. We have our IPs file. So we're going to go ahead and type that, sort, and then it's going to be IPs pipe unique. Once we type that, we want to output that to another file. So we use that with the greater than sign. So it's pretty much pointing to what we're going to do. So we say unique, and then greater than, and then we're going to say unique IPs or whatnot. And once we do that, in a split second, we can take a look at our document now and notice that we have a unique IPs right here. And this pulled out all the IP addresses that are unique. And I'm going to kind of leave these up quite a bit, when we look at this tutorial, because I want people to be able to go on there and just mess with them as much as they do. So what we're going to do next is just take those IP addresses that we have that are unique. We're just going to simply add them to the phpBB system to ban them. As we keep going here, we check out, we have 31s. We want to check out and make sure that we have 31 in there, which we do. We wanted to make sure that our unique command worked, to pull out. So let's go ahead and paste all those in the banned IPs, and we'll make it permanent. So we have all those in there. The length of ban, we want to make that permanent, and then we'll go ahead and we'll submit that. So from now on, those offending IP addresses will be banned from creating accounts. This is only a temporary measure because, as you all know, we have thousands and thousands of IP addresses, on the internet that these people can use. So this is only the first step, to try to cut down on some of the email systems, because once you register, of course, on some of these boards, people who use email systems on GoDaddy or whatnot only have a limited number of relays. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of all these users since we've done what we needed to do. We'll list 500 here. And what this spammers apparently don't recognize is that I can just remove these users in a matter of seconds, by marking them all. So, to hell with these spammers. You guys are pathetic, so this is a message from Shadow to you. You can suck it, because no matter what you can do to this board, I can undo it in a matter of seconds, and it probably takes you days, to write a script or some code to do that. So, too bad for you. The next thing we're going to do is just select user IPs there, just to show you what kind of, see, we have no IPs offending in there now, so we just ran that query against the database to see if we successfully removed all those. Next, just a simple command just to show you what you can do is, show databases. These are, some 4 databases that we have on the server at this point. We segregate our databases and servers, so we have, 30 or 40 different servers. So if you think that you're gonna hack into our database or dump our database and whatnot, and then get one over on us, we'll have it restored in a matter of a minute. Then we're just going to run a select command here, select everything, which is the star from phpBB, zebra, that's one of the tables, the last table. And of course I forgot one of my from things here, so you'll play with SQL commands and you'll get errors pretty much almost every time you do it. So select what, and we want to put from PHP. So, we have only one row in that table. So user ID, zebra ID, and whatnot. And we see all the tables that we have in here. And it's pretty fun when you start to play with the database. You can aggregate all your data and whatnot, and move around and then play with it a little bit. I like putting quite a few numbers in a database and running statistical analysis on lottery numbers. It's a fun thing to do. But like I said, phpMyAdmin is PHP based. I don't like to use that. It's a little bit too much, too many problems. And we can see all the tables on the left here the same as we would if we were using command line. It puts it into a nice visual format, but as with visual format, you pay for that in security. Okay. When we do our second tutorial, I have downloaded a sample database that we can play with. Okay. When we download the sample database, it shows us what a SQL script or an SQL script does when it creates a database within our server. Okay, and as we open this up, we'll take a look at this. First thing that we see here, is create database. So this is going to create the database called classic models. Okay, if it doesn't already exist. And we're going to tell the system to use that classic models database, and subsequently drop the table if it exists, customers, and then create the table customers with those subsequent fields. And then finally we're going to insert data into the customers table. You can see we have all this, fake data that we're going to put in there, and then the tables later. We have a bunch of other tables that we're going to be using later. This is the schema for that sample database. As we look at this, we have 8 tables. And we have relationships between those tables. If you take a look, you can see the lines between product lines, products, order details, and it simply follows a really nice almost flowchart kind of view. When we have those relationships, we see product lines relates to products, relates to order details, and then of course goes down to orders, relates to orders to customers, customer to employees, and then employees to offices. So we have basically all this data linked in one way or another. So when we pull a customer, we can see all their orders, we can see what offices are being handled, what employees are handling that customer, and of course we've integrated payments into the database too, so we have some financial data that we can put in there for accounts, credit lines and all kinds of stuff. So just by these 8 tables, we can create an entire system where we have customers, product lines, orders, and payments, with very, very small overhead. And this could be done on a simple interface, a PHP interface, Python interface, whatever, floats your boat there. So as we move along, I'm going to show some of these IP addresses here as much as I can. I like to play around with the spammers too, so I'm going to leave this up on the screen here. Just pause your video here, copy down these IP addresses, spam them, have some fun with them, But what you have to be careful with is sometimes the users of these, the administrators may not know that their system's being used for spam. They may not know that they have a compromised system, so you have to take into account that too. So we're going to go ahead and run a couple whois commands on some of these IP addresses and see where they are. The first one we're going to look at here is the 107, and if I'm not mistaken, this is рақ-shack or something like that. So we scroll down here, data-shack, yeah. So, as we look at data-shack too, we might realize that data-shack might be a rented VPN or some kind of rented system, so temporarily they can use this system in order to spam, and then, when their contract runs out, they just switch to another service. As we do the 198 too, we see that's data-shack. And some of these are data-shack and some of them are not, but I'm doing this for specific reasons, so the IP addresses are up on the screen for the most part. So, being a white hat, you can pretty much try to call these guys. If you get a chance and this is running on you run your own servers, try to give these guys a call or send these guys a courtesy email saying, here's all the documentation. We've had all these IP addresses from your systems, hounding our servers and, registration raping us, and, we want to try to be a good guy here and tell them, look, this got to stop. Here's one from vaj. There's a lot of stuff in there too. Let's check out. Mostly with the ones from overseas, you're really not going to get very much response from these peoples. And this one, of course, is over in, I think, Netherlands. Yeah, Rotterdam. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to spend, overseas calling in order to tell these guys. It's simpler just to block the IP or block the entire network. When you block entire networks and subnets, you run the risk of actual legitimate users, trying to log in and being blocked. So, you have to make a balance between the spam and between the actual users. So, this is Shadow. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know any comments, complaints, or suggestions.